Hey, welcome back. It's Cavallo from datingfire.com and datingadviceguru.com. You know, if you've ever been in a relationship where you want to get any attention that you deserved, you might have found yourself feeling a little neglected, maybe a little unwanted. You may have even told your friends, my boyfriend won't make time for me. What the hell should I do about this? Well, let's tackle this tricky situation and give you the tips you need. That's what we're talking about today. My boyfriend's not making time for me. What should you do? And of course, if you like this stuff, and why wouldn't you? Why not do my big three? Number one, like and subscribe. This stuff comes out every week and you can get some great tips and advice. Number two, turn on the notifications so you know when the next video comes out. And number three, if you have any questions or if you want to leave me any comments about a video that you'd like me to do, leave that in the comment section below. And stick around to the very, very end, because right after the credits roll on this video, I got an extra tip hidden away. You know, you don't want to feel lonely, and you definitely don't want to feel neglected. You probably also don't want to break up, right? But you should also know that you just don't feel like a priority in his eyes, and you want to know that you can get better. You actually deserve better. Now, one strategy that will definitely not work is complaining and nagging, right? Very often we feel the only way we can get what we need is to pressure somebody to give us what we need. But that's a strategy that's going to backfire most of the time. Even if you get what you want by pressuring him, you're going to create resentment and friction between you and him. I mean, no one wants to be beaten into submission, right? And this is true 10 times over when it comes to men. No man ever wants to be pushed into anything in his relationship. And you definitely don't want to threaten the relationship or threaten him. So when a guy hears complaining, all he hears is that he's not adequate. He's not good enough. See, a man is focused on solutions and fixing problems. So when you complain, you're actually saying you're dissatisfied with him. But there's also no solution for the problem in a complaint anyway. And contrary to what you might think, you can't just tell him to make more time. He needs specifics. He needs to know exactly what he needs to do. And not to mention, you'll begin to wonder if he's still interested in you anymore if this keeps going on, right? So here's what you got to do. You got to get back to being a priority, because being a priority is a significant signal in a relationship. And yes, you're right to want to be a priority. You need to know that if you were going to marry this guy or live with him, he's going to be there for you, because that's what it comes down to in the end. Is he going to be there for you? So let's start talking about the reasons why he's not making time for you. Reason number one, he's genuinely busy. Now this one's tricky. He's probably going to give you this excuse, even if it's not the real excuse. It's the one he throws out the most often. In fact, this is probably the most common stall tactic that a man uses on a woman. The fact is that no matter what, if we love and appreciate someone, we want to be with them. We will make it happen. We won't make excuses, and we definitely won't let time get in the way. Now sure, there's a chance that he's overwhelmed, he's got a ton of things to do in his life. A lot of guys get really busy building their careers depending on where he is in his life. This is something I talk about in my Connection Code program. It's vitally important that you understand what stage of life he's in so that you can understand his behavior as well. Now, reason number two is that it's because he's not that into you. Unfortunately, the truth is that sometimes he isn't making you a priority because he really isn't into the relationship. Now, not every man is going to take a relationship and want to run to the goal with it. He may not take every relationship and think, oh, I got to marry her. Whether that's marriage or moving in together, sometimes he's only in the relationship for convenience. Now, this can be also true for you, right? But you wouldn't have to come to my video here about why he's not making time for me unless you wanted more time from this guy. So just make sure you don't want more from him only because he's giving you less. Scarcity can trick you into relationships that just aren't right for you. Don't get tricked like that. Now, reason number three is bad timing. Sometimes you catch a guy at the wrong time. Maybe he's fresh out of an old relationship. Maybe he's just started a new job. Maybe he's in the process of trying to align his priorities. He might even be dealing with a really difficult situation in his life. Now, if you find yourself in this bad timing situation, the best thing you can do is just wait it out a little longer. See if you can get back in sync. And make sure you understand his situation completely. Crystal clear, okay? I'm telling you. Then you can sit down and figure out if you really want to keep waiting on him or if his bad timing situation is really he just doesn't want a committed relationship. And that leads us to reason number 4. He's a commitment phobe. Funny enough, this is the first reason that many women assume right off the bat. They always assume it's got to be commitment phobia. And yet it is actually rarely the first reason or primary reason that a man puts you off and doesn't make you his number 1 priority. You see, men never fear commitment to a woman they genuinely view as being a prize. Let me say this again, because this is really important. If he really does want you and does desire you, He's not going to resist a committed relationship with you. And a man can only see you as a prize if he's chasing you actively. That's the key critical indicator right there. This is one of the most important factors to understanding men and relationships with them. And I'll bet your mom never taught you this one, did she? There are dozens and dozens of books in the bookstore shelves about men who won't commit, but they all miss the mark. The reason most women can never get him to commit is because she thinks this is the problem, the specter of commitment phobia. In fact, the real problem is that she doesn't realize he's already put her in the friends with benefits bucket. You might be stuck here too yourself. Sure, there are men who are afraid to commit. Yes, absolutely. But they're only afraid because she scared him, either with something she did or something she said. So what do you do if he's not making time for you? Tip number 1, don't assume. It's very easy to project somebody else's actions as meaning something about you, right? I mean, if your boyfriend he's not spending time with you, you might be tempted to believe that he doesn't love you or that there's something wrong with you. Don't make any assumptions about your value based on how he's treating you. It doesn't mean you're not lovable or valuable. Don't project feelings of inadequacy toward yourself. Yes, you are adequate. Don't assume that because he did this, that means that. You'd be surprised how many different reasons there can be for one single behavior, both positive and negative. So don't jump to those assumptions. Tip number 2, is this a stall tactic? There's also a possibility that he may be stalling your relationship. Sometimes guys do this with their lack of attention to it. Remember, he's making a conscious choice about how much time he spends with you. If he's choosing something else or someone else as a priority, that simply means that is more of a priority to him. The actions tell the truth. Something that's important to know about men is that there are times when he does not put your relationship as his number 1 priority. He's got other things in his life that he's occasionally going to bump up to the top of his list. Now, this is something that many women don't understand because a woman always places her relationship, especially her love relationship, right at the top of her list, almost without question, right? For you, it seems contrary to reality that anybody would do that. So you assume he's got a reason for it, right? You'll have to adjust to this understanding from time to time and recognize that men will sometimes shift priorities on you. It doesn't mean that he doesn't love you. It simply means a shuffling up of what his current needs are. What's more important for you is to know if you'll be back as his number 1 after that other stuff is done. You should never be low on his priority list for very long. Tip number 3, make sure you're seeing the truth. Sometimes our fears of abandonment stop us from looking as closely as we should at what's going on. For example, which one of these choices are you most likely to believe? Number 1, he's got a lot of projects on his plate right now and he's just super busy. Or he's coming up with a clever excuse for his lack of interest so that he can keep stringing you along and sleeping with you. Now, of course, who would want to choose number 2? Who wouldn't choose number 1, right? Back to, well, of course, he's got a lot of things on his plate right now. He just doesn't have time. He'll get back to me. Well, especially because he can really be sincere when he says that to you, and it's the reason you want to believe is true. But you also have to look at his behavior and not fall prey to his clever reasoning and his excuses. Remember, a man's behavior always tells the truth about what he's feeling. This is also true for women, but women also tend to recognize their emotions and reveal them much more openly than men do. Always look at his behavior and be willing to interpret it in the worst possible light. This way, you can be working from a stable foundation of truth, and you will trust your own perceptions and intuition as a result. The more his behaviors repeat, the more you can trust they are true. Remember, if a man is making you distrust your own intuition, chances are you're not only being lied to, but you're also going to have a tough time trusting yourself and having compassion for yourself. Okay, now I don't have enough time to cover the entire article. It was a long one, but it's got a lot of great stuff in it. If you want to go read it, go on over to datingfire.com. Just go to the blog and check it out there. I'm moving on to tip number 5. Don't let him excuse himself from doing his part. Now I'm going to get uncomfortably honest with you right now. Men will happily stick around in a relationship for as long as possible if he's getting his physical satisfaction, let's call it that, meaning he's getting his sexual intimacy. A man can very easily get all of his needs met for a very long time with a purely sexual relationship. Yes, there are some guys who will naturally progress into a committed relationship with you, but, well, let me say this. By the way, there is no event when things become committed. There's no actual official declaration that a man makes a commitment to you. He just starts assuming, well, you two are together. Yeah. So what this means is that you have to be on the lookout for your own needs. He can go a lot longer without making a verbal or any kind of tangible commitment that you're likely to get. So yes, you're going to have to know how to make him step up and devote himself to you. Now I'll tell you more about how to do that in just a minute. First, tip number 6, make sure you know what you want. One of the steps most women overlook is that you have to know what kind of relationship you actually want. You got to know if this guy is really the one for you and where you want this to go. Because men, we typically don't take a leadership role in a relationship. We leave that to the woman to do. Remember, he's always making choices and telling you with his actions what he thinks of your relationship. You are being communicated to directly from him, so be sure that you see the signs he's sending you. In the end, you only have a few choices. There's really only 3 things you can do when you're in a situation where he's not making you his priority. Number 1, you focus on him, focus on the relationship, and focus on what you're not getting, and then be unhappy. Number 2, focus on yourself, keep yourself busy, keep yourself distracted, and keep yourself happy and just wait it out. Or number 3, dump him and just go find a man who's ready to move forward. Now, number 1, the one where you focus on him, focus on the relationship and what you're not getting, that's out of the question. It's totally unacceptable. There is no amount of attention that you can put into a dead relationship that's going to make it come back to life. Eventually, you're going to have to be willing to kick this guy to the curb if you're not getting your needs met. It's not a fun choice, but you got to be willing to do it because he could stick around with you for years based on a convenient relationship that never goes anywhere. And here's the truth that most dating advisors will never tell you. You ready for it? A man has no problem making a commitment to you and making you a priority if he sees you as what? The prize. You heard me say it before, and I'll say it again and again. We do not chase people in relationships that we feel like we've already won. In other words, no man thinks that the woman chasing him is a prize. He's only going to wonder, if she's so great, why is she chasing me? And you know what? He would be right to wonder about that. Some women see this as old-fashioned thinking. They think that men and women should just be honest and say what they mean and do what they should do. But the truth is, that's not how people work. And if you fight against the natural laws of how people really are, especially men and women in relationships, you're going to lose. The truth is that human beings do not act rationally. And I'm betting that you've experienced this enough yourself in almost every single relationship you've ever had. If you wait around for men to change to suit you, you will never have the relationship you want. So instead, why not learn how to make men really work for you? Really? Yeah? Just learn how guys work. It only takes a few minutes and the effects last a lifetime. There's no reason why you need to wait around on him or be unhappy in the process. Why not learn right now how to make you his priority? It's very simple. Go on over to datingfire.com/free book. Going over to datingfire.com/free book. If you haven't already, go get my free ebook on the 7 mistakes that women make that basically scare men off. Okay? Stop doing these mistakes first and then find out how you can start to make him desire you. Okay, that's what I teach women. I teach the real laws of attraction, not the imaginary ones that you might read about in a meme on Twitter or on your Instagram. Get the real information. Stop treating this like entertainment and start learning what really makes relationships work for you. That's worth everything, I'm guessing. It's probably your number 1 priority, and it's my number 1 priority for you. Go on over to datingfire.com/free book, get that, and just put your email and get my newsletter. You'll get it practically every day, plus you'll get new videos, and I'll even tell you more in that newsletter. And do my big 3, if you like this video, why not? Like and subscribe to the series. I do these videos every week. It's worth it for you to get them. Make sure you, number 2, turn on notifications so you know when the next one comes out. And number 3, if you have any suggestions for a video, leave that down in the comment section below. Hey, this is Cavallo from datingfire.com. As always, live and love with passion. Hey, little extra tip here. Sometimes you might have to have a little talk with him. Sometimes you're going to have to put aside your own fears and tell him what your needs are in the relationship, because if you don't tell him, he's never going to figure them out. Men can't read your mind. You may have heard this enough to make you sick, but it's still true as it ever was. Many women experience other women as being able to read her emotional state because, well, that's what women do. You have a much more sensitive emotional intuition. You can pick up on signals that other men can't pick up. But men don't experience this at all. We don't have that ability. We don't have that great emotional radar that you do, which means, yes, you will have to tell them what you're thinking and feeling from time to time. You can find out how to talk to guys so that they will actually listen to you and you can get through to them. I know that's a big part of it. Go on over, get your free ebook at datingfire.com/free book.